Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends, we'll be discussing few more details about return books itself. Earlier video we have learned about purchase return book. Now we'll be learning about sales return books. Now when we talk about sales return book, we ideally speak about the sales that have been done by a business. We'll discuss few more details on this. Let's go ahead and figure that out. So when we speak about sales return, basically these are the sales that have been done by us, and there is certain return given to us by any customer or client. Let's take for an example, I am Mr. A and I have sold certain goods to you. You figure out there is certain defect in those goods and you have given that goods to me back again, saying that these are defective and you need a replacement on that. So when we speak about the goods that are being sent back to us, that means the goods that are being sent back to me, these are the goods that I'll be recording only in my sales return book. Especially make sure all these transactions are supposed to be done on credit. That means the ideal sales would have been done on credit, and that specific sales, out of that specific sales rather, there are certain returns being sent to us. Now hence when we talk about return books, that means we are talking about defective goods that are being sent back either to the buyer or to the seller. Now when we talk about being sent to the seller, that means sales return book, and we are sending it back to the buyer, that means purchase return book. So when we talk about sales return or purchase return, these are the fundamental principles that you have to keep in your mind. So now we'll go down with the further definitions that have been mentioned down here. That means certain details about sales return book have been mentioned down here. We'll go ahead and see what more details have been mentioned and we'll highlight those parts. Let's go ahead. So there are certain times when the buyer, that means if you are the buyer and I am the seller, you might find certain defects in those goods and you might send those goods back to us. That means back to me. So when you talk about certain transactions which are dealing with this kind of nature, that means we are dealing with sales return transactions. So this is the one fundamental principle that will help you analyze which are the transactions which are returned to or which are related to specific sales return transactions. And now for the above purpose itself, we have recorded or we have maintained this specific sales return book. Just like for purchase returns, we have specific purchase return book. For purchase, we have purchase books. And for sales and sales return, we have these kind of books in our journal. Now there are other names also. Let's go ahead and figure out those names. Sales return is also known as return inwards. Now, as we have described, that purchase return is something which is also known as return outwards. That means you have purchased something, you figured out there is certain defect in it and you have sent it back. That means the goods have gone out. Hence, we are calling it as return outwards. When it comes to sales return, that means you have sold certain goods to certain people and they have found defect in it, then have sent it back to us. That means return inwards. Hence, we talk about return inwards and return outwards. These are the separate names for purchase returns and sales returns. So make sure you have clarity about all these things. Let's go ahead and see what is the illustration talk about. Before that, we'll go ahead and see the performer of sales return book. Again, we have 5 columns here. The first column being date. Now, when we talk about date, again, you have to mention the year as we have already learned in the previous videos. The next column will refer to name of the customer. That means the person who is sending it back to us. That will be description, or probably you can just mention the description column. The third column will refer to ledger folio, which will state from which ledger page it has been taken into consideration. And the fourth column will refer to credit note. Just like when we do purchase returns, we have a debit note with us. Whenever it comes to sales return, we have a credit note with us. And the last column refers to final amount, or probably the amount column, whereby you will be recording only the net amount in it. Now let's go ahead and see what do we have in the illustration, and then we'll prepare this pro forma and we'll solve that specific illustration. Let's figure out the illustration first. Now the name of the company hasn't been given, so need not mention that part. This is for May 2005. You have to record the below mentioned transactions into the sales return book. So now that the month and the year is given, we'll record these transactions. But before that, let's go with the transactions. Let's understand them. On 1st of May, Mohan returned certain goods amounting to rupees 250. That means some customer named Mohan, they have returned the goods back to us which were amounting to rupees 250. This is something that we'll be recording under sales return book. Let's figure out the next transaction. On 10th of May, Gopal returned certain goods worth rupees 500. That means there is one more person named as Gopal. That customer sent us back goods worth rupees 500, and that is on 10th of May. On 28th May, Balu, named as a customer, sent goods worth rupees 750 back to us. That means goods worth rupees 750 were returned back to us by a customer named as Balu. These are the three transactions that we have to record. So we'll first go ahead and record all these transactions into the proforma. We'll first prepare the proforma first, and then we'll go ahead and solve these illustrations. Let's go ahead and prepare the proforma. In the meantime, you can also prepare the format within your books. So now that we have prepared the specific proforma with the date being mentioned there, we'll first go ahead and record the first transaction. So now that the first transaction has been recorded, 1st of May, returns from Mohan, and the amount has been mentioned down there as 250. Let's figure out the next transaction. Tenth of May, there were certain returns made by a customer Gopal valuing rupees 500. Now the last transaction will be recorded down here. Now the last transaction has also been recorded, whereby there is a return from a customer named as Balu, and the amount is rupees 750. Now that we've recorded all the transactions, we'll total the specific amount and we'll see how much is the total for sales return account. Now that we know that the total of 1500 is the amount that has been recorded here, that means this amount will be went or transferred to sales return account. Now that this is the specification that you need to follow while mentioning all the transactions in a chronological order. If the credit note is provided into the question, make sure the credit note is mentioned in the question. Wherever there are cross marks done, you need not keep it as cross mark. You can leave it as blank, or you can put a simple dash there as the details are not available. Hence, when we talk about preparation of sales book or sales return book, these are the qualifications or these are the specifications that you need to follow. I hope this was easy to understand and very presentable when it comes to preparation of sales return book. So, thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned with Ekeeda and keep subscribing to Ekeeda.